Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the men's basketball game. John Scottam along with Jim Mitchell. And, of course, Jim, we keep talking about Rob Terry, but I just talked to Andy Russo before the game. He says, you know, John, you lose Rob Terry. It's like losing two players.
Well, you can't do anything about it now. It's over. We've talked about it last game. He's going to have to come back next year, and we will look forward to that. Tonight, they're in a tough competition tonight, a very high-ranked basketball team that's going to give them all they want tonight, and it's going to be a hard-pressed victory for him.
Florida Tech, of course, has not been in action since that game last week against Tampa. Meanwhile, they had to be happy with some of the play they got in that Tampa game, especially from Adrian Benjamin, Roy Johnson, some of the guys that have stepped forward. They really need to step forward again tonight in this game against Florida Southern.
Well, he made that statement last week, and he made it again to me tonight. He said, if we don't get something out of Willie Robinson and Adrian Benjamin and get something out of Johnson, we're not going to win any games. Those guys are going to have to step up, along with Navoisha, who's already been doing a good job, and Junior Allen. So if that stuff happens like it's supposed to, he thinks he can get back in the league, and I think he can too.
Coach Gordon Gibbons thinks that he can take it and run against Florida Tech and just wear them down. We'll find out if they can do that against Florida Tech when we come back with the starting lineups.
This portion of Florida Tech Air begins with you.
And welcome back to Percy Hitchcock. With us is Mr. Kurt Redden. He'll join us momentarily for an interview, but first we've got some highlights and other things to talk about here as our halftime starts on Time Warner Cable. Jim, down by 12 at the end of the first half. Got to be unhappy if you're Andy Russo. You're only down by 2 moments ago, and then all of a sudden it's 12.
Well, they got a big problem right now. The bench is not good enough, seem like, to stay with Florida Southern right now. They're turning the ball over a little bit. I think they're in for a long game unless he can get a good spurt the second half, try to get up there and get that thing down to single digits like 7 or 8, and then hang in there to the end of the game. But it's going to be a long uphill battle.
We were surprised that Florida Tech stuck with them. Happy to see them stick with them if you're a Florida Tech fan. You watch what Florida Southern did early, you see the outside jumpers, and that's when they really started to kind of put the lid on Florida Tech. Adrian Benjamin in at this time. Roy Johnson answers. The lack of Adrian Benjamin, a big, big problem for Florida Tech.
I think it is. I think they had 4 or 5 lay-ins, just like you see right there, without him in there, and things got real rough for him later on in the second part of that half.
Robertson was a big man for the Moccasins. We Asoria here will send it to him, and he just can't defend that kind of stuff.
No, and they're fortunate he got 2 fouls and did not spend much in the first half, or that would have been rough going for them because he's playing a very good basketball game.
Junior Allen gets a 3 for Florida Tech. Willie Robinson has a 3 as well, as you see Willie Robinson dish off here to a Junior Allen who's had a fine first half.
That's one of the finest shots I've seen lately there. That was hanging in the air and finally gets it off right before he hits the ground.
Willie pulls up. Count him.
Good shot by Willie.
Willie Robinson, and then just too much on the other end. You take a look at Southern, and Clark just spins it in.
And that's what I'm saying. Without Adrian, when Adrian's in there, they have a rough time getting those little baskets up real close because he hangs around the basket quite a bit.
And when guys like Murdoch can come in and reject you and then slam at the other end, things just continue to get a little bit tougher for Florida Tech as you watch the move inside, and Osborne doing some damage inside again.
There's where the big guy comes in, though, right there, 6'9".
We will be back and talk more about stats, scoring, and also our interview with Mr. Kurt Redden right after this.
Hurry on down. Every day, every time is rib time. You must try our baby back ribs at your local Woody's barbecue. Rib out at Woody's.
Welcome back to Percy Hitchcock as you get a little bit of local flavor here. John Scottam and Jim Mitchell with you courtside. Plenty of things to talk about, Jim. I think we were surprised, but pleasantly surprised that Florida Tech stayed with the Moccasins as early as they did and as long as they did. They need to do the same thing here as we take a look at the stats. Field goal percentage started out really high for Florida Tech, just started to fall. And the opposite for Southern, started low and just ended up at 51%.
Yeah, see, that's what happened. We shoot 80%, Florida Tech does early on, 4 out of 5 or something like that. And they're hanging in there, and they were shooting 20% or something, and Florida Tech up by like 4. And now all of a sudden, 37%, they're shooting 51, we're shooting 37, we're down 12, and they really took care of the ball the last 3 or 4 minutes. They really scored a lot of
missed
points.
shots for Florida Tech on their end of the court. Obviously, when you're talking about a missed shot, turnover's not a big deal. We thought that perhaps the pressure that Florida Southern would put on Florida Tech full court would be a problem for the Panthers. That really not a big problem with 6 turnovers for Florida Tech and 4 for Florida Southern. The thing that really sticks out in my mind is at the end of the first half, when Florida Tech was down, they kept getting a lot of shots, but nothing fell for them. Florida Tech on their end of the court, obviously, when you're talking about a missed shot, turnover's not a big deal. We thought that perhaps the pressure that Florida Southern would put on Florida Tech full court would be a problem for the Panthers. That really not a big problem with 6 turnovers for Florida Tech and 4 for Florida Southern. The thing that really sticks out in my mind is at the end of the first half, when Florida Tech was down, they kept getting a lot of shots, but nothing fell for them.
The thing that I was, you're right, and the thing that bothered me, though, a little bit was with about 3 minutes to go, this game was like 27-25 or something like that. And then they score all these points, and they're a high-scoring offense, and all of a sudden they got 40 points when was a good defensive struggle turns into almost a rout the first half.
Yeah, it's turned kind of ugly for Florida Tech. Of course, they miss Adrian Benjamin sitting on the bench with 3 fouls, and that is a big story for Florida Tech in the first half and may continue to be a big story in the second half, depending on how quickly Adrian Benjamin picks up that 4th foul. If it's very quickly, it's a huge story. If it's not so quickly, then it kind of falls to the wayside. But it is a big story indeed at this point for Florida Tech. If they can come back here in the second half and get back on track and do what they did that worked well in the first half, then they're back in the basketball game.
Well, they got to do something real early in the first half, and we'll see what Andy's got in mind.
We'll see what he has in mind when we come back right after this. 4 3-pointers. Abin Gaporo into the lineup for Florida Tech. Or no, Nigel Moses into the lineup for Florida Tech. Seeing his first action in the basketball game. Robertson, a little turnaround move against Adrian Benjamin. It will not fall. Benjamin a little bit soft on the defense. He's playing with 3 fouls. Junior Allen. Nebosha Domjanovic inside. Roy Johnson says, I want the basketball. Domjanovic is open for 3. No. Nigel Moses on the tip. Adrian Benjamin sends it back out front. Good play from Florida Tech. Allen high, won't go. Cleared by Southern, and I was going to say the official's got to make the same call. He's got to call it traveling, and he did. He called it traveling against Roy Johnson and Florida Tech. He came in and overruled the jump ball and said, traveling.
And nobody knows what happened.
But he's consistent. You got to give him that. Even if you disagree with the calls, if the official is consistent, that's what you ask for.
Well, he's laying flat on his back. He didn't have his feet on the ground.
There's no way he could be traveling, but hey.
Well,
the possession arrow is pointing to Florida Southern. Florida Tech's got to be happy with the traveling call.
Well, both feet was moving. They were in the air.
Consistency, you look for it. Benjamin has been a consistent player, and he throws it to a non-existent Junior Allen, who retrieves it. Moses, Benjamin, Johnson, Allen, and Domjanovic, and Roy Johnson again. 14 points for Roy Johnson.
A quick move, too.
56-49. Saunders thought about it, takes it a little bit closer.
And what a move that was.
Saunders with 12, 8 in the first half. 58-49, Nigel Moses steps on the sideline. Are letting their team know that they appreciate the effort tonight. Their hope is a 3 that's made and a foul on that 3. Well, the 2 isn't going to do anything for you.
Well, they got a timeout with 2 seconds to go, but that clock is moving slow.
Florida Tech, a nationally recognized university right in your own backyard. And US Air. US Air begins with you.
And welcome back to Percy Hedgecock. The first time these two teams played at Florida Southern this year. Florida Southern comes away with a 71-68 win, a game Andy Russo told me he thought they would have won. And I think if you had to ask him about this one, Jim, he would probably say it's a game we should have won.
Well, late in the game, he started throwing those threes in there, and I thought that worked very well for him. And he didn't do that earlier on. You can see right now, Nebosha came out in the second half, throwing them right off the glass, and he had like 2 or 3 of those right in a row. But then they answered every one of those first baskets that Florida Tech put up in the first half, the first part of the second half, and answered every one of them, and that kept them in there, and they finally just overcame whatever Florida Tech put on him. You see Roy there?
Roy with a fine game, 22 points unofficially for Roy Johnson. Quiet, unassuming points, if you will, but a strong presence inside for Florida Tech. But as you said, when Florida Tech would get close, Junior Allen would bang home the three. The next time you turn around, who would be banging in a three for Florida Southern but Clark. Clark, who finished with 6 threes on the night, was the man of the hour for Florida Southern. Adrian Benjamin, a fine second half, playing with 3 fouls early, continued to stay into the entire game. A good board there.
I thought Adrian played a good game. Very happy the way he played basketball tonight. On the boards, and when he wants to get the rebound, he will get it every time. And there's a good, Roy's right up there, and that one's blocked.
Yeah, but Roy Johnson making the moves to the basket that he needed to make. Again, unofficially with 22 points. Florida Tech hustling, trying to make things happen this entire second half. They'd get within 9, they'd get within 7. It was 56-49 at one point, and then you turn around, and all of a sudden they're down by 16 again. And then they pull within 10. And then there are a bunch of what if. Junior Allen with that shot. What if that three from Willie Robinson had gone when it was 85-78? Would have made it 85-81. Roy Johnson, a fine effort. I think this team has found itself as a team, and they found that they can survive in the Sunshine State Conference without Rob Terry. They'd rather have him there, but they can survive.
The thing that hurt them, I think, is that they allowed 2 or 3 times during the game to let the game go from 6 or 8 points up to 16. It takes so much to catch back up again, and they just couldn't overcome it at the end.
Yeah, Florida Tech wasn't just making a run once or twice in the second half. They had to make a run 4 or 5 times against this Florida Southern team, and sometimes they'd get close and then a little miscue. A step on a sideline here, a step on a baseline there. We'll be back with more right after this timeout.
Where at a moment's notice, we offer nearly 5,000 flights a day.
All 5 stars for Florida Tech tonight in double figures. Roy Johnson with 22. Junior Allen with 20. Nebojsa Damjanovic with 20. Adrian Benjamin with 10. Willie Robinson with 12. Aubin Gapora with 2. Jim, all 5 starters in double figures. Got to be happy with that.
You got to be happy with that. They played very well. Each other covering for.
On to hit movies. I thought it would be so explosive we'd blow the roof off. Big action, small price. With pay-per-view, every time's as good as the first.
And Anastasia Clark, the man of the hour for Florida Southern, 6-3, 6 of 8, 28 points to lead all scorers. He was the man. They win it 90-86. For Jim Mitchell, I'm John Scottum. Thanks for being with us. Have a good night, everyone.
You can't fault Benjamin. He's played a heck of a game on the board.
Adrian Benjamin has played a fine game. Started the second half with 3 fouls, picked up 1. Has played a little tentative on defense. Someone's got to take a 3 here, Jim. Damjanovic will not hesitate. Yeah. And Nebojsa Damjanovic, 2 straight 3s. 5-point difference.
And they get a little timeout now.
20-second timeout.
Floor pressure. Just see them get the ball in, and then they kind of back off.
Looking at another 3 attempt, I would imagine, if it's open. Damjanovic. Allen drives. Yes. Junior Allen. 20 points. 7 points now. And Junior Allen with the foul. That's his 4th.
Be formidable.
Toomer misses, but it's batted back out by Robertson. A whole new clock, a whole new set, and Florida Tech is going to have to look at it fouling somebody here. Adrian Benjamin is not the man you want to have doing the fouling.
Not with 4 already.
And he's got to give the baseline to the player. That looked like Toomer, and he gets his own board back. Battle for Benjamin clears. 1 minute, 85-78. Willie pulls up, takes the 3, it's off. That would have made it 4. Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Well, it was the right shot to take because you can't fool around with under a minute.
Timeout. Florida Southern. Florida Tech down by 7.